Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Austriaco. Here. Bessler. Here. Collins. Here. Coyle. Here. Lee.
Here.
Sullivan. Owen. Here. Okay. We will start with 207's Best for Academic Excellence. And we're going to start, if you're ready, Mike?
We are ready.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. I am very pleased to introduce Richa Shah as our 207's Best for May East. So Richa is actually a fifth-year student at Maine East. And that's only because she came to us taking accelerated math as an 8th grader. So she's been around for a while, and as a result has done every math possible at a very, very high level, but more about that in just a moment. So she's got a GPA of 4.9302, not too bad when you know what the ceiling is at Maine for a GPA. Among the top students, so I could list all of the AP and accelerated everything she's taken, but I'm not going to do that because I want to talk about sort of who she is as she lives and works around at Maine East. She's a well-rounded member of the school community. She's got very diverse interests. She's been active on the tennis team, the math team. She's in the Gifted Lyceum program, member and officer in NHS, Math Honor Society, Lens, school newspaper, charity, Random Acts of Kindness Club, Scholastic Bowl, just to name a few. And she's also found time to volunteer at the local hospital, public library, and at her religious school. She's been proactive in investing time exploring career options in the medical field. She spent 2 summers at U of I participating in a Games bioengineering and engineering camp. She's taken healthcare careers through Oakton, where she explored various areas of healthcare. In addition, she had the opportunity to shadow a doctor at Presence Resurrection as part of an internship this school year. Gained first-hand knowledge and experience taking patient vitals, pulling charts and lab results, phoning pharmacies for refills, using computerized information systems to enter info regarding the patients. She was recipient of the Kendall Smith Healthcare Exploration Scholarship and Internship, where she worked in a sterile processing department, was able to watch surgeries, filed, I'm going to say this, ethylene oxide paperwork. I don't know what that is, but and these are kind of underscoring her desire to do something in the healthcare field. Judy Tyler basically describes Richa as the go-to girl in the Gifted Lyceum program, just in terms of being incredibly organized and very, very dependable. She models by example. She's very, very responsible, kind of pushing others, inspiring them to do their best work. This last summer when they went to Detroit for their annual work trip, my understanding is that Richa sort of got into, pushed her comfort zone, something involving a chainsaw, and I won't go into the concerns from the board, but clearly she is all intact and everything is good. But very, very active in the Lyceum. Pauline Sterenberg has reached an AP Psych this year, and said that, I've sat back countless times in class and watched Richa in amazement as she leads a classroom discussion with no prompting from me at all. She has a gift. I'm not sure what her future holds, but I know whatever she chooses to go into, she'll be a leader. Mark Dobner is one of our math instructors and teaches DIFIQ this year. And basically went on just in terms of her analytical ability, problem solving, again, the way that she works with others. And even after I wrote the letter, reached out to me, I guess the math team had competition, and they tied she and Harshita, who was our very first 207's Best, on team, and they tied New Trier for first place, which was a pretty big deal. So congratulations to you guys on that. Spanish 4 Excel. Tomas Sentado just said her writing ability was comparable to a heritage speaker in the class in terms of just the language ability, but then accompanied by her skill in analyzing and developing complex ideas. Dave Hessert, AP Lit and Comp, described her as a superlative student, mature writing style, marked by sophisticated word choice and very close attention to detail. and she also spends a good deal of her own time helping classmates with their homework and writing. Math teacher Sue Clifford probably just summed it up by just saying, I love Richa. She's brilliant, kind, funny, and friendly, the whole package. I will not be surprised if she winds up on our wall of fame someday. Just a class act all the way, and I know that we are going to miss her greatly, and I know that she is going to do great things in the next chapter when that happens in a few months, and we wish her all the best. Congratulations. Who's here with you tonight?
Yeah, so I have, thank you for that, by the way. I have my mom, my dad, Ms. Tyler, who's my gym teacher, and Mr. Roos, who was my past teacher.
And we're friends.
Well, hopefully I plan on majoring in biological sciences and mathematics. And then career-wise, I hope to study medicine and participate in biomedical research, especially in fashion.
What colleges are you, what's in view for you?
So far I've been accepted to U of I for bioengineering, but I'm still waiting to hear back from Central College.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, next up. Next up is, okay, we're going to go to them. South.
Maine South would like to present Julia Ben-Bennett for 207's Best of February. She's got two Bens in her name, and my first name is Ben, so talking in my office, we got to know each other very well in the sense that I think we had a lot in common, actually. And I think one of the things that really struck me when Julia was talking about what made her so successful, because when I sent the email out to all of her teachers, so many people came back with just flooding of emotion of how happy they were that you were receiving this award. And Julia's parents, who speak Polish at home, Julia also speaks fluent Polish, and kind of growing up in a household like that really led her to drive to want to study international relationships and international law. So it's very interesting just kind of hearing her backstory and how much her parents mean to her and how instrumental both of you have been in her life. Julia has taken literally the most challenging courses that Maine South has to offer, including AP Euro, AP US, AP Physics, AP Lit and Comp, AP Language, AP BC Calc, AP Spanish 5, and AP Psych. She has a perfect 36 on her ACT. She has a GPA of 4.85, and on top of all of that, she's also a member of the varsity tennis team for all 4 years, mock trial for all 4 years, Model UN for all 4 years, chamber orchestra for 3 years, Key Club for all 4 years. She's the vice president of NHS, the president of the orchestra board. She plays violin in orchestra, and she's a member of the state champion C team. And she's a Hawk Pride leader, so she doesn't have a spare second in her day. Chris Headley, her English teacher, said, as an English teacher, I am rarely at a loss for words. However, it's a challenge to describe the brilliance of Julia. I will just sum her up in this way. Real deal. Truly, she is intellectually gifted. Her commentary in our English 4 class elevates the discussion to a collegiate level. Additionally, she is humble and kind. She listens attentively to her peers' ideas and is open to those ideas. Her classroom is enriched by her presence, and I am grateful to have her have the chance to work with her this year. Tim Spiegel, Julia's counselor, said, since her freshman year, Julia has endeared many staff members and students alike through her sociable, astute, and personable nature. Julia's academic progress was confirmed in her consistent grade point average and continues to be one of the very best among our senior class. She has a distinction of being decorated with numerous scholastic awards, including 2 departmental awards in social science. Her academic stamina was demonstrated in a consistent selection of accelerated and advanced placement courses in English, science, mathematics, social science, and foreign language, while maintaining a phenomenal 4.85 GPA. Julia's calculus teacher, Miss Beth Ann Ball, is here tonight, said the calculus class was taught in a cooperative learning environment, and Julia is the ultimate group mate. Julia honors all roles and is an active participant. She encourages others and promotes discussion with appropriate questions and answers. She is willing to take academic risks, supports her conjectures with evidence, and accepts with grace if her ideas are disproven. Julia is articulate and is an active listener. She is highly respected by her classmates because of her intelligence, kindness, and total effort in class and with peer relations. And finally, Mr. Trevor Fritz, Julia's AP psychology teacher, said, Julia comes to class every single day with the mentality that every teacher loves. She has a great big smile on her face and is willing to ask high-level questions that not only make her peers think, but also challenge her teachers as well. Julia's attitudes towards life and learning truly contribute to make Maine South the incredible place that it is. Julia, just in the brief moment that I've gotten to know you, the flood is the longest letter I've written so far, because I literally had so many responses from all your teachers. And I think it just speaks to how kind you are as a person and how much you do for our school. And I think you're going to really help out a lot of people studying law and international relations. So thank you so much for what you contribute to our district.
Thank you, first of all, Dr. Franz, for your kind words. I'm being supported by my two parents, Margaret and Andy Benbenek, and also my counselor, Mr. Spiegel, my BC Calc teacher, Mrs. Ball, and my tennis coach, Gerald Smith.
And your plans next year?
I've always been really passionate about law and politics, so I hope to, depending on where I get in the following months, I'd love to continue international relations or political science as my major in college, and then I'd like to pursue international law.
Excellent. Thank you. Congratulations.
Now we're moving on to audience.
It is my pleasure to introduce to you Brett Patterson from Maine West. Brett is an outstanding leader at Maine West, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And I've said that before, but I haven't met a student quite like Brett before. I met him when he was a sophomore at Maine West, actually probably a freshman at the end of your freshman year, when he was nominated by every single one of his freshman teachers to be on the principal's leadership team. And usually we get freshmen who are nominated by one or two, and then I have a hard choice, but Brett was a slam dunk because every single teacher used words like, as a freshman, just an overachiever, confident, humble, kind. The whole package is what people used to describe him. So as a member on my leadership team, he did come in very quiet, very shy, but we did a strengths finder by Thomas Rapp, where the students had to go through and find out what their strengths were. And the same words that his freshman teachers used to describe Brett came out in that, and we've seen this as he's grown up now through Maine West through the years. So as achiever, futuristic, analytical, competition, and significance. So when we put him on a team at Maine West, we know he's going to emerge in one of those areas, highly competitive, but in a very humble and kind way, not in a fierce, mean, competitive way, but in a humble way where he cares about others to make sure that they're going to achieve. He's got an incredible GPA. I should have started with that. He's here for academic excellence. 4.79 GPA in the toughest classes Maine West has to offer. Just this year alone, he's in the Wind Ensemble, AP English Lit and Comp, AP US Government and Politics, AP Physics C, multivariable calculus and differentiated equations, AP Computer Science, and he's a senior leader in PE. Something else that's very unique about Brett is that he doesn't have to say a word at a Maine West Assembly, and 2,100 kids will get on their feet and scream crazily for Brett because he is our Maine West warrior. He has been Maine West warrior for 2 years, which is also very unique. He was chosen as a junior, and now as a senior he continues to be our warrior. He is one of the most dignified warriors we have ever had. He's a leader in every sense of the word, and he leads our students. He's also the student council president. So as he grew up, sophomore year to junior year, all of a sudden he's coming out of the bleachers and he's getting every kid on their feet and just then very quietly walking off pretty much into the sunset. But having this indelible mark on Maine West and the students of Maine West, the teachers of Maine West, and the principal of Maine West, who thinks you are terrific. One of the neatest things he's done at the start of this year was to start the esports team at Maine West. He came with the idea. He had a room filled. Over 80 students came to the very first meeting. I think you still have 70 or so students, 70, 80 kids still involved in that. Made it onto the front page of the Daily Journal for creating this new club of esports. Again, the competition using your intelligence and possibly earning money in doing that. So Brett Patterson is definitely one of 207's best and one of my favorites. Okay, tell us who's here with you and then tell us what you plan for next year.
I brought my family, my dad, my mom, and my brother, and my chemistry teacher, AP chemistry teacher, Mr. Benzolia. And my plans, I've been accepted to U of I engineering, so I might go there, but I'm waiting on acceptance letters, hopefully for Yale and Stanford if I can get in. And I'm hoping to major in biology with, and I'm planning on being a genetic engineer in the future.
Congratulations to all of you and your family and your teachers and all the support that you get. And good luck in the future. At this time, if you'd like, you may go outside and have photos taken with your principals. It's also a chance for you to leave the meeting if you'd like to do so.
Come back next month, Judy. We'd love to have you here.
I'll second that. Okay, do we have any public comments? Okay. And then update from the superintendent?
Okay, actually, I'm worn out. Dan Springfield back this morning to speak to the Illinois State Board of Education, the Illinois Community College Commission, and the Illinois Board of Higher Education. And the topic was on the dual credit initiative that we're working on with EdRed, Lynn, and Lucas Scope, and the high school district organization. So it was a first step in what we hope will lead to some potential legislative changes that will do 5 key things, starting with allowing high schools to actually build dual credit courses with their community college. That's been a barrier that extends across the state. Making sure that those those courses have currency for our kids as they go into Illinois State colleges and universities. Making sure that we attend to the very high remediation rates that exist in Illinois. District 207 in particular is a district that leads the state in literally everything that our kids are measured on, save one thing, and that's the rate of remediation that our kids are subjected to when they go into Oakland Community College. So that's a really, really, really big, important thing, because here's why this matters so much. Community colleges disproportionately educate our economically poorest and our minority students. In addition, the remedial rates are disproportionately our minority students. So it's really important that we attend to these things. We had receptive ears at the table today, and if we look at better outcomes for the state of Illinois, better outcomes for our students, having our particularly our economically poor students have the ability to get credits at the community college is incredibly important. There's a direct linear correlation. I've shared with you the presentation, but there's one of the slides in here from the Brookings Institute. There literally is a direct linear correlation between household income and kids completing college. The poorer you are, the less likely you are to complete college. And in a district that serves an increasingly poor population, an increasingly diverse population, it's really, really important that we attend to this. Frankly, the switch to the schedule was done to serve our students. This is part of the reason is making sure that we can save students time and money, but we need partners who will do that work.
and our local community college partners are key. What we found as we've done this work, it really began an initiative that I was fortunate to help start on the Ed Red board, but as we've talked to agencies across the state, there's incredible interest in this topic. And a lot of people see it like I see it, which is this is one thing that we absolutely ought to do to help serve our minority students, our poor students, locally in the state of Illinois.
Just for the benefit of remediation rate, just to clarify.
Remediation rate, thank you. Remediation rate is a student going away to college, and instead of going into a credit-bearing course, going into a remedial course. Now, I've told the story, one of our main East graduates, a young lady, Hispanic speaking, had a GPA high enough that research would indicate she would have been a successful credit-bearing student. She took 9 remedial English courses. First of all, that there are 9 remedial English courses in the first place is problematic. She took those 9 courses 20 times over 5 years, passed every one of them. She kept coming back and coming back. Talk about persistence. And we only know this, we know her name, we know her story because we finally got a data sharing agreement. And that's a big fight going on in the state. The community colleges are not wanting to have to share their data with the high schools. We are fortunate that we have one. But it's showing us some of the really systemic problems.
And the reason that they're taking those courses is because of the standards that they have for GPA. Is that a lot of it?
Standards, well, actually it's lack of standards. So one of the things that actually Martha and her staff did at NSERV is they actually ran an analysis of the community college system to look at the cut scores. It's in this report. There's a couple of charts in here, and you can look across the system. No 2 colleges have the same entrance rates on anything. So they all use different cut scores, even though ACT and SAT says this score is college ready. So take English, for example. The ACT Language Arts college ready score is an 18. Oakton, until just recently, made their cut score 22. Why does that matter? That one decision had the impact of driving up our remedial rates by about 25 to 30%. So when I say there are inflated rates of remedial kids in Illinois, you can look at the data and you can find specifically how it really happens. Again, probably what's interesting is there was a gentleman there from the Illinois State Board of Education, the one that scorecards us. You talk about finding a fellow traveler. What we said really resonated with him, and he used the language that I used. I said, this is a civil rights issue, and he really picked up on that, and it was just interesting dynamic at the table. So this is the first, it isn't the first, but this is the first sort of formal step in the journey, and hopefully it will culminate in some better outcomes for our kids. You all know the story. I've told the story of English 101 here enough times that everybody should have it committed to memory. But it's that story, it's the looking at our kids and seeing really, for lack of any other term, just a really, really poor practice that, I take my job of serving our students very seriously. It's the reason that any of us do any of the work that we do here. And so I'm willing to step on the line and fight that fight. With this district in particular, we have kids that need a high level of attention. We just do. And, that's the part of the work that I think is the most compelling for me.
Is there follow-up to this? Or?
So we actually have a conference called Our Group this week, and then we have some other planned meetings with various groups across the state that ultimately we hope will lead to some legislative sponsorship. So that's kind of where we're going in some stages. We have a number of so the advocacy groups all have different people who are conversant and expert in the ways of Springfield. I am not.
You're an expert.
Well, I'm not an expert in the ways of Springfield.
Yeah, but in this topic.
In the topic, maybe, but in politics,
Right.
I'm not so good.
Right.
I'm not so good at that part of it. So we will stay tuned. I'll keep you updated.
Okay. Thank you. And you gave me a copy of this, but is there, can you share any other report
I
with
can
everyone?
I can share a report with everyone.
Okay, I mean, if you want it.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay,
I'd
You
love
can
to-
keep that. You can keep it.
Okay, I
well,
was,
that's mine.
with that, I just,
Well, whose is it?
That's yours.
This is yours.
All right, now.
okay,
Keep that.
thank you.
Who's on first?
Okay, all right, anything else, Ken?
No, but we have I hope a quick agenda because I have to get home tonight and make sure that I tell kids they have to go to school.
Oh, because of the snow. Okay.
I walk my dogs and I put my dogs out and tell them.
All right, do we have any updates before that? I will say that a number of us went to the Ed Red dinner. It was a great meeting. Ken was on the panel, which touched on the topic we just discussed here, and just generally kind of making sure our kids are ready for the world after they leave our halls here. So it was very, I think, really good meeting. Finance Committee update. Since Sean is not here, do we have someone who can do that, or do you want to? Do you have
I'll go
to?
through it, and then
Okay.
Mary can help us if we need to. The Finance Committee was held on January 17th. It began at 5:30 p.m. There was some very granular financial topics covered, almost completely by Assistant Superintendent for Business, Mary Kalu. The meeting was called to order at 5:30. The first item was Internet contract proposal. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
You are.
Internet pays entities to reduce their energy usage during peak times when the grid becomes stressed. We went into, there was great detail on how we would be paying that in the contract, which we don't need to go into right now, but if Mary needs to supplement anything, please do so at the end of my highlights here. The second point was investment portfolio volatility. Ms. Kalu presented the quarterly report indicating during the audit how the district reports market to value adjustment. The figure fluctuates according to interest rates, with the portfolio decreasing when interest rates increase and vice versa. This year is the first time in a few years that the market value is less than the carrying value due to the rise in interest rates, but is not a concern. District investments are made through the town treasurer and are invested conservatively. And then there was a great in-depth second quarter budget update. And as of our current analysis of finances, the budgeted deficit of $7 million will be reduced to $2 million, due in part to the receipt of $1 million in state payments from last year and timely state payments this year as well as the $2.2 million boiler work that was approved to last year's fiscal year rather than this year. Revenues, I'm going to read this whole paragraph because this is all important. Revenue areas showing a decline are in property taxes, which are projected to be $1 million less than budgeted due to refunds from the previous year, nearly double the historic rate. Corporate personal property taxes declined by $766,000 as the, just to be clear, $766,000 as the state allocated $300 million from these funds to other areas. The end goal is to track cluster of large properties to see if appeals are going through the circuit court where we are not notified. The district did, however, realize $1 million in medical savings. Where we are notified, the PTAB annual update. The district intervenes on large PTAB appeals where the vast majority are settled for less than 30% of the refund requested, preserving much more revenue over spending. At the meeting on January 17th, this included a summary by year since the year 2003 of outstanding funding requests, settlements, and revenue preserved. This is really helpful because it showed the comparison and the trending. The district is notified of PTAB when refunds are with an assessment evaluation of over $100,000 or more requested, and appeals are ongoing as multiple years are being worked on at any given time. So it's in-depth analysis of that. And then finally, Ms. Kalu presented a resolution allowing the district to capture growth in the debt service extension base, and that's going to be, there's going to be some more information on that presented in our next finance meeting. The meeting, I think we're in the process of rescheduling, or it's going to be combined with buildings and grounds in February for the next finance, or is it just buildings and grounds?
It's just buildings and grounds.
Okay, so then there will not be a finance meeting in February. Okay, and then that, on the 17th, this meeting was adjourned at 6:17. Anything that we should
Good
highlight?
job. And most of these items are on the board agenda this evening, so as we get to the agenda item, there will be additional information.
Paula? Education Committee update.
That is me. The Education Committee meeting was held on January 22nd. It was began at 4 p.m., or called to order at 4 p.m. There was about 3 specific areas we addressed. Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Innovation, Mr. Sean Mesmer, gave a preview of the look of the new district website, which is currently under construction, and Dave Berry was there. It was very helpful to kind of walk through that. Updates are going to be presented as more information is available, but very good first start to kind of navigate what it's going to look like. The second area was competency-based pilot application. As the state is moving towards competency-based learning instead of Carnegie units for seat time in high school, the district is going to apply for the state's competency-based pilot program. And for those who aren't aware, competency-based learning involves personalized learning at a student's own pace, receiving support and time is needed to progress to higher levels of coursework. And then there's measures of how they meet competency when they move forward. The application for this deadline is February 16th, and 12 districts are chosen. They will be chosen within a month or two. There was 12 last year in this pilot, so then there will be a cumulative number of 24 schools or districts, I should say districts involved in the pilot moving forward. So very exciting, and hopefully we'll be able to be part of that, because I think we've laid the groundwork, and I think we have a good chance. Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's really in sync with our innovative teaching and our vision.
Logical next step.
Pardon me?
He said
A
it's a
logical
logical.
next step.
Oh, exactly. So, and we did the district because I was wondering that apply for a seat time waiver to enable a blended learning pilot, and if accepted to the program, the seat time requirement will be eased beyond the waiver request. And then finally, we spent quite a bit of time. Mr. Mesmer outlined revisions to current policies to conform to ISB's press series, conversion to press. Press gaming is part of the ongoing process of updating district policies. Some of the educational policies will be renumbered, some will adopt fully the press language, and some will include current or added language which the board is comfortable with. In addition, press follows all state and federal laws for special education compliance. And the policies we were given a nice similar to how the policies for finance and in other areas were extensively reviewed and made sure to be compliant with press, and also cleaned up in this manner. These are being extensively gone through. Mr. Mesmer also prepared a great what has changed, what are the differences, and what do we need to address. And so the education committee is going through those in great details, but the substantive changes are all in totality will be presented to this board at a future date. So that meeting was adjourned at 5:14 on January 22nd, and as of now, we don't have a next meeting scheduled. Anything else?
I just have a quick comment and concern related to the website design update, especially for Google Translator using. I have a concern relating to using the Google Translator. The reason is I personally had an experience with the Cook County Treasurer's Office related to, I'm so sorry, Cook County Treasurer's Office online property tax information through online, through Google Translation. And many of them are inaccurate. The language, especially the language, is inaccurate. A lot of wordings are missing, and so on. So, if any chance we are to use a website related to Google Translation on different languages, we have to doubly make sure that the informations are correct and able to release properly.
And I think anyone who's used Google Translate sees that, and it certainly does not have the cultural competence that we're looking for a diverse community, but it's a start in what was impressive, and Dave can correct me, anybody can correct me, but I thought that we had, how many languages were on there?
That's a lot.
It was very impressive how many that we have, so there's a tab, very accessible, more so than it is now, that it drops down and you can get it all. It is Google Translate, but it's better than nothing, and it represents, it seems to me, all of the languages that are spoken in our 3 schools, which is, it's not a perfect start, but it's a start. But I agree with hesitancy. Unfortunately, that's the best we have to move forward, but I think it's going to stay at the forefront because diversity and inclusion is always in the forefront of this district moving forward.
That's but at the same time, we have to be kind of conscious to this art image. So when that particular ethnic person able to go into Google and looking into our information in their own language, and when that's definitely misleading or it's not definitely insecure, it doesn't look good on our school district and so on as a professionalism. So just want to share that information.
I agree. And I think we have a commitment to, and I know we have a commitment to the best that there is out there. Unfortunately, it's still evolving, so.
As long as you guys are aware.
That's a good point.
It's fine.
Any other comments?
No, I do think there's a education
something?
committee meeting. No, I
Oh.
think there's one set for February 22nd.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Paula.
I'm not gonna talk to you as
Monthly status of finances. Mary?
In your board packet is a host of financial information. The first one is the monthly financial report for December. December marks the halfway point of our fiscal year, and both our revenue and expenditures are in line with the budget. The next report is the financial scorecard. So this scorecard is a short 10-year history of where our funding comes from as well as how our funding is spent, and then does some comparisons on both the tax rate, the financial profile score, and the operating expense for people with their surrounding school districts. As indicated earlier, the second quarter budget update was provided in the packet, and at the second quarter, we are projecting that our deficit will be reduced by about $5 million. The first 3.4 of that is for timing, either revenue we received this year that we anticipated last year, or expenses that were incurred last year that we thought would be incurred this year. The other part are some what I think are frightening trends. One being the property tax refunds, which are about $1 million higher than our historical levels. I can tell you that from what I've seen lately, that trend is continuing. We're still seeing some large refunds on each of our tax distributions, as well as the corporate personal property replacement taxes. It's kind of alarming that at any point in time, the state will come in and redirect some of those funds so that it becomes an unreliable revenue stream for us. Because this year, we lost $766,000, not because there's less money in the fund, but because $300 million of the dollars in those funds were directed by the state to other purposes. Then, as indicated earlier, we had a premium holiday because during the last year, our medical expenses, because we are self-insured, have been trending very favorably, so then both the district and our employees were able to see a savings on the medical premiums in the month of December. Another report that we have, as indicated earlier, was the PTAB summary report. So this report takes a look at what are our outstanding refunds, what refunds have been settled, the level of revenue preserved. I believe that we'll be getting more involved in the circuit court cases because we're finding that the circuit court cases are settling for more than like 50 cents on the dollar than the 30 cents on the dollar that PTAB is settling in, and I think that's a direct result of school districts not being given the intervention rights in the circuit court. So we're trying to create creative mechanisms for the district to intervene on some of those larger cases in the circuit court. And the final financial information is the investment volatility report. As indicated, we have a portfolio that has an average life of 2.3 years, which allowed us to take advantage of some higher interest rates. But now that we see interest rates starting to creep up, it also means that when you compare our portfolio to the market, we would have a negative adjustment. It's a book adjustment only because we don't sell our investments, we hold them to maturity. So it's not that we're going to take a loss, but we created this report to give the board a heads up because at the end of the fiscal year for the audit, we are required to report a market to value adjustment, whether that be positive or negative. And it is, I would say, almost, if interest rates continue the way we all think they're going to continue, it would be a negative market value adjustment this year. And the last time we had a negative adjustment was 6 or 7 years ago, so it's been quite a long time. I will entertain any questions that anybody has on the financial reports.
I just have one question. So the money that you said was intercepted by the state, where, those are on local property taxes?
So those are on corporate personal property replacement taxes, which many years ago, I believe it was 1974, corporations used to pay a tax on their personal property. So what they did is eliminated that, put it into corporate income tax, and then each year school districts got that the value of the corporate personal property that they were getting in that year back as corporate personal property replacement tax. But because these are dollars that go to Springfield, Springfield can pass legislation that says, out of that bucket of money, we're going to take $300 million off the top and take it out of the corporate personal property replacement tax bucket available to school districts and municipalities and put it over here in another bucket. And that's what they did this year.
Okay, so it's going through the tax, it's going through income tax. I was just correct. I couldn't understand how they got their hands on it, but now, okay, so it went through income tax and then that's how they got it.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, Mary. Instructional services. Sean, do you have anything for us today? Okay. Ken, update on FOIA requests?
Through this month, all have either been processed or are being processed.
Okay. All right, could I have a motion on item 7A? This is the minutes for the January 8th, 2018 meeting.
Second.
Would you take a roll, Jen? Austriaco?
Yeah.
Gessler? Collins?
Abstain.
Coyle?
Abstain.
Lee?
Aye.
Owen? Aye. Okay, now, on the consent agenda, can I have a motion on items 7B through F? Jean, please take the roll. Lee?
Aye.
Coyle? Aye. Collins?
Aye.
Gessler? Austriaco?
Aye.
Owen? Aye. Okay, could I have a motion on item 8? This is the Board of Education Policies and Procedures. This is a second reading. Second? Okay, thank you. All right, Mary, do you want to talk a little bit
Yeah,
about?
so what we've done as following the lead of Mr. Dietz was we're looking at our policies, renumbering them to the press policy numbering sequence, and then reviewing the policies in the area. So each of these policies we've reviewed, we've compared it to the district edition, we've identified certain areas where the district language is something that we want to keep embedded in the press policy, but the vast majority of these policies we're moving to the press policy. So the cover letter indicates where there's language that we've kept from the original district's policies, and where we're renumbering, and those policies that we are deleting as a result of implementing the press numbering. These policies were first provided to the Finance Committee in November with additional discussion in December, came for first reading before the board at the January board meeting, and are now scheduled for the second reading and adoption this evening. So if there are any individual questions on any of the policies, I'm happy to answer them.
I do encourage, obviously this is an important thing that we do, going over policy. I know that we have a committee that's looked at it, but I really do encourage everybody to ask your questions, now or in the future on any kind of policy changes that are being made. These summaries are great, they really are helpful, but we still have really a duty to be looking over our policies. So I'm just I put that out there occasionally, and I want to do it right now. But thank you for all the good work on this.
And then what's the, we have a review time, was it every 3 years we look at these?
So actually, once you go on to the press, the beauty of going on to the press is that press provides you with periodic changes to the policy based on new laws, based on pretty much new laws, new best practices. So once you adopt the policy, you can get what changes press is recommending periodically, and that would be the time that you would want to bring the policy change forward to the board. So it becomes then taking it from what may be a static review period, because many of the policies, I think the last major scale was probably 1988. So there are, it takes it from a static review time frame to kind of ongoing as needed based on what's going on with state law.
And then that would come like to you first?
That
and then-
comes to Greg, we decipher it, we get the, press will say, here are all the changes that we're recommending and here's why. And then we would look at the individual policies relevant to our area and bring forward those changes.
So like any, state mandates or any of those would be reflected in these right away, and we would
Yeah.
see it
Correct.
immediately?
And that's
Okay.
that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And that's not a new concept, a lot of states follow that, but what that does is, there's a team of lawyers that is following, tracking legislation, updating the policy, and then you're getting the notice.
Yeah.
So it's just a really good disciplined way to stay up to date.
And I talked to Mary a little bit earlier today about, just making sure, that we're kind of on top of all this. And one of the things we talked a little bit about was, we don't have a policy committee any longer, but it's something that if we wanted to, we could convene, an ad hoc policy meeting if we wanted to, just to go over things a couple times a year if we felt we needed to do that, just so that the board is focusing on that a little bit. So, but we haven't really gone through that yet.
But also I appreciate Greg and Wallace kind of informing us and kind of revisit it and explain this more thoroughly, so we appreciate their kind services as well.
Okay, so, any other questions on any of these changes? Hearing none, would you take the roll, please?
Austriaco?
Aye.
Collins?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Coyle?
Aye.
Bessler? Owen?
Aye. Okay, moving on to approval of bids and awarding of contracts. I have a motion on item 9A. We want to do these together.
Do you want, should I?
It doesn't matter.
Do you want me to read it, since it's a expenditure?
Sure.
I so move that the Board of Education enters into I move that the Board of Education enters into a 5-year contract with Enernoc to receive revenue for electrical supply demand response participation. Enernoc will pay federal emission requirement upgrades to main south generators and allow the district to repay out of its earnings over a 3-year period, after which the district would receive $37,790 to $43,790 annually as presented.
Again.
Second. Thank you.
Okay, so federal regulations required cogen buildings such as the one we have at Main South to have what's called a scrubber, which then purifies the emissions from the building in order to operate it as a generator. We didn't have the scrubber cost about $100,000, so Enernoc approached us and said that they would be willing to hold that contract, pay for the upgrade, allow us to pay them back over our demand response savings for a 3-year period, after which we would start to generate annual revenue. And we would also have a cogen building that now is up to date with the federal requirements, so we could start using it whenever we wanted. So this is the essence of an interest-free loan for the district, and allows us to have all 3 of the buildings then participating in Enernoc. Enernoc, the demand response requires at least, once a year we have to test the system. So what they do is they want to know how much those entities in Enernoc could reduce their electrical demand, so that they knew how much they could take off the grid. So we do 1 test a year, and then they could call upon us to implement that when the grid is in distress. And I think for the last couple of years, we've only had the test date. They've not called upon us to implement an energy reduction program.
So when do they usually do the?
They did it, I think, on an August day, which wasn't great for us, but we let staff know that we would be shutting down the air conditioning at a certain time frame, and that it would get a couple temperature degrees warmer than the building normally would.
But they could request that it happen even while school is in, not the test, but the.
Correct, they could. It generally happens during the summer, so I think August is probably our time. But I think we were shut down for about 4 hours and we rose 3 temperature degrees during that time frame. So it wasn't unbearable or uncomfortable, and certainly if the energy grid were to go down, we would be out of power for a long time, so that would be very uncomfortable.
So basically, we pay lump sum $100,000 in advance?
No, they pay $100,000. We would pay them out of the savings that we would generate from participating in the demand response program.
And then we get, we receive or we pay back this amount, 37,000 to 43,000 or so,
Correct.
back
So,
after 3 years later?
correct. After 3 years, the first 3 years of the savings goes to pay Internet back for their $100,000 investment that they made. And then after that, we get a check to the school district for between $37,000 and $43,000. They're paying us.
Up to 3 years or so, and then that's it, or?
So this is a 5-year agreement.
After,
So the first 3 years are wiped out with the improvements that we're making to the cogen building that they're fronting the money for. And then years 4, year 5, we will get a check from NMS.
okay. Any other questions? Jean, would you take the roll, please?
Reed. Collins.
Aye.
Bessler. Coyle. Austriaco.
Aye.
Owen.
Aye. Okay, have a motion on item 9B.
Second.
Yeah, well, we could do the, why don't we do the exam?
We do it related.
Can you?
I move, 9B.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Okay, I'll second
Again.
Okay.
Okay, at the January board meeting, the district approved a contract with Mid-American Energy for electrical supply. As part of Mid-American's bid, there were credits that were issued. We did not fully execute the contract with Mid-America because we asked for clarification that those credits be placed into their contract. They then came back and said that they would not guarantee those credits for the life of the contract. So we approached the other low bidders to see if they would. So we are requesting that the board rescind the contract with Mid-American Energy, and I provided the board president with her executed copies that we never gave to Mid-American, but since the board took action, we feel that it's the safest route to rescind that contract and then enter into a contract with ND Energy for the electrical supplies, because they will guarantee those credits in their contract. It is in their contract for execution, and that then puts them as the low-cost provider for the electrical supply.
Any questions on that?
Are there any issues with the supply, or is it it's from the same?
It's the same, it's just
What-
their,
grid, everything,
it's- right.
So I mean, it's just a business contract.
It's just a business contract.
Right, I mean, there's no
There's
physical.
no difference in,
Yeah.
electricity is electricity, so there's no difference in electricity.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, nothing is,
Nothing's
gonna
taking
go out
place.
of power, right?
Just different people
Yeah, right.
get to route it for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Jim, would you take the roll?
Collins.
Aye.
Lee. Coyle. Bessler. Austriaco. Owen.
Aye. Okay. Okay, calendar items. Did we say we have buildings and grounds on February 12th?
I just want to invite every board member as much as possible to attend this, because it's a very important and very informative community information will be shared.
So I'll try to make that if I can. 5 o'clock here.
That's on Tuesday.
Monday.
Monday, okay.
5 o'clock. Okay. And then will there still be one next person?
Yeah.
Can I?
So
We have to.
the The March 1st meeting, we have 17 bids that will be open between February 24th and February 27th that need to be awarded at the March board meeting on March 5th. So we need a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting to go over those bids at some point between February 27th and the March 5th board meeting.
So we have to have a quorum for that meeting, you're not able to.
Yeah, I would not, because of the conflict of schedule, I would not be able to attend as the chair.
Are you on business?
Yes.
You could call in if it's possible. If you're on business, you could.
So when it comes down 27th, it's gotta be approved within that short.
So what we want to do is, we want to get a jump start on our projects. So if you hold them and approve them in April, they can't order any of their equipment, they can't start looking at timelines, they can't, so.
And we'd be
Okay.
approving them at the
At the March meeting.
Which is a couple days after this.
And it's kind of, they're
that window.
finalized,
Yeah.
right. All the other windows, we made sure comply with the Buildings and Grounds meeting dates, but it was that first window, because they were finalizing the bid documents later than, it's in everyone's best interest to get the bid documents right once they go on the street, because then you have less change orders. So the timing was a
So
little.
who else is on Buildings and Grounds?
Sean and
Terry.
Terry.
So we just need to.
I'm
make sure
okay.
you're
But
okay.
on the committee meeting, actually, we are not making any decision or vote, it's a formative session, and then we will be making that decision on March 5th. So, hopefully, both of you guys can attend, hear, and provide those information so that the board members can make a proper decision on March 15th.
What about, I do have a question, what about the insurance, meeting that had been scheduled for the 14th?
The insurance committee meeting, the insurance committee is not a formal board committee, but yes, it's still on. And in your board email is about 60 pages of information. And lucky for the rest of the board, you'll be getting that same information in your Friday notes, so.
Okay.
Yay for everyone.
Did you say it's AM or PM?
AM, 7 AM.
No, don't
And I put AM in the email as well.
I'm gonna move to 6
I
AM.
know, it's 7 a.m.
Yes.
Tricky, just worried now.
I know. Okay, any other communications or public comments? All right, could I have a motion to go into closed session for purposes of review of closed session minutes and appointment, employment, compensation, performance, discipline, or dismissal of specific employees? So moved.
Austriaco? Bessler? Collins? Coyle? Lee? Owen?